So welcome to another Disney Junior Parenting Hacks podcast. The whole point of this is not to try and pretend we can make parenting easy, but hopefully make it a bit more fun with, I want to say, a gaggle of influencers and experts, but that sounds rude, so I mean it in a complimentary way. Sue Atkins, our parenting expert and guru. Sue, just remind us a little bit about your children and your stage of career.
Yes, well, my children are grown up now. They're 26 and 23 and they've left home. But I used to be a former deputy head and class teacher for 20 odd years. Now I write books all around parenting and appear on TV and radio.
Freddie, your child, one boy?
Yes, yeah.
Very different stage. He's how old now?
Oh, I'm only new. He's only 2. I'm only new to the game.
But you are not new to the social media game. You are a big sensation, fashion, beauty, all things sensational, if you don't mind me saying. I'm a bit of a stalker of her on social media.
I'll have to look.
Yes, well, that's why I spend a fortune. But anyway, let's move on. And Dr. Sweta Rai, who is from the British Association of Dermatologists.
That's right, yes.
Nearly got that wrong. And a skin cancer specialist.
That's right, yes.
So let's kick off with you, Doctor. I'm sorry, I know you don't want to be formally called doctor all the time, but I would be called doctor if I could. If you can use the title, why not?
Absolutely.
We are at the time of the year when we need to be thinking about sun awareness and skin safety. With children, how on it do we need to be?
So you need to be really on it, actually, because we do know from statistics now that most people get their sun damage before the age of 20. So that does really put a lot of onus on parents to protect their skin, their children's skin and their skin, really, from a very early age. So being aware before the summer starts on how to apply sunscreens. But, you know, it's not really all about just applying sunscreens. It's about sun protection and total sun safety. So being out of the direct rays of the sun, making sure you wear the right clothing, making sure your exposure to sunshine is kind of limited, so you take them out for a short period of a time and then reapply sunscreen after 2 hours or 40 minutes, depending on whether they're out of water or in water.
But what about vitamin D? Don't we need to get them outside and in the sunshine? Isn't that good for them?
Yeah, absolutely. Vitamin D is really good for all of us, but vitamin D can be supplemented, and you can get vitamin D even outside the direct, the strong sun rays, which are between 11 to 3, which we all know. You can get them out in the early morning sunshine or in the evening sunshine, and with appropriate sun protection and sun clothing, that will get them enough vitamin D. And obviously, you know, vitamin D can be supplemented. Vitamin D you can get through foods as well, but both sunburn and sun tan both can lead to different types of skin cancer. So even if you go slightly pink in the sun, it's still damaging your child's skin. And that's something that a lot of people aren't aware of.
Talk to me about Hugo, Freddie. Is he all right about covering up? Does he like putting on sun cream?
No, he's definitely okay. I don't really give him a lot of choice. But I think the difference is also that with our skin, because we have dark skin, it's just so much drier and fragile. So we used to just wear body cream or like every day. So Hugo, ever since he was born, and you know, for the rest of his life, I'm going to make sure he wears moisturizer every day. So with this habit, it makes sunscreen application quite easy because he's so used to it.
Yeah, sunscreen's not something alien to him because he's used to putting something on.
Exactly. No, it's harder to put it on my husband than on my son.
Well, no, I'm suspecting your children are not of an age where they need you to put their sun cream on. How do you encourage kids to put it on if it's not their thing, they don't want to do it?
Yeah, and the interesting thing about that is, from a teacher's point of view, when I used to be a deputy head, actually there was this whole change where teachers are not allowed to put it on children. So it's very important that you teach your kids from an early age how to apply it safely, because they do need to protect themselves. So when they do go to school, they carry that in their rucksack or what have you, and children just get used to it. Starting early is a brilliant idea because it's a habit.
So who's the onus on? Kids to do it themselves or us to encourage them?
Well, I think at the beginning when they're little, us to just start the habits, and that becomes just completely natural. And then when they go to school, you've talked to them and you've taught them how to put it on to make sure that they're safe.
Just to add to that, it's a really good point, and yes, the onus should be on kids, but I think as parents and as, influencers, also the onus is on us ourselves to apply it correctly. So if you're applying it correctly, your kids are often learning from example, so they are watching you do it, so they will want to copy you. And for, those of you who have kids, you'll know that when you put on makeup, for example, your daughters will copy the makeup you put on. And the same way, if you apply sunscreen correctly, your kids will apply their sunscreen correctly. And it's about asking them to be kind of advocates for each other, so they are helping each other put on sunscreen behind the ears, on the top of their feet, on areas where you don't always get
and hands, isn't it, as well? I'm mindful. It's all those things, the ears, and wearing the hats with flaps. They like to wear caps, but actually they don't protect the ears. So again, you just talk and teach them and expect them to wear that stuff. That becomes natural, and then off they go. It's like wet t-shirts as well aren't as good as dry t-shirts and dark t-shirts. So all these little tips you just start to do naturally with your kids, and they just grow up thinking that that's normal.
Yeah, but even age 3, my son is so particular about what he will wear, and he won't wear a cap with the flaps on.
Yeah, so there are lots of sun protection clothing companies nowadays who are making sun protection active wear for kids and for adults. And you're right, making it fun, making it something that they're going to engage in, and making it something that they're all wearing a little bit of something silly, and making it a game with them can often help them putting on things which they usually wouldn't wear, but in the name of, say, sun safety or sun protection, they might do because it's going to protect them.
Oh, Freddie, you touched a little bit on different skin tones and skin colours. How different is sun safety, across the board?
Well, I wouldn't know as much as Dr. Sweta, but for me, like when I was growing up, I never wore any sunscreen. It was really like the belief that black skin, we don't need that. So every time I would go on, to summer camp, all of the kids would have sunscreen. I never did. I think the first time I was in my 20s. Now I know that, it's a myth, like black skin can have, skin cancer. So I wear sun protection every day on my face. I wear SPF 40 every day. When it comes to my son, I also go with high protection. And for me, it's important that everyone knows it's not, just because you have darker skin doesn't mean that the sun can't get you. So,
Dr. Sweta, does different skin tone mean different safety?
Yes, exactly as you said, it does. And there is this perception amongst a lot of people that darker skin types don't need as much sun protection. And in some way it's right, because fairer skin types, they do burn easily, they tan easily, and therefore they need more sunscreen and more higher factor sunscreen, and the application more carefully and rigidly. But exactly as you say, Freddie, you do have darker skin types who can get skin cancer as well, and sun protection needs to be maintained in all of them. If you were to put out a person in the sun who is fair-skinned versus dark-skinned, the fair-skinned person would burn easily and quicker in the sun. Therefore, the reapplication and the factor needs to be higher, but the reapplication and the factor needs to be there in darker skin types as well.
Talking about different skin types, I think we live in a glorious country where we can see representations of all skin types across the board. Is that fair? Is that something that we're seeing in schools across the country?
Oh yeah, of course. The interesting I'd like to ask you, if you don't mind, is about babies under the age of 6 months. What's the safety around putting on creams around babies?
The sun safety tip for children in general, but particularly babies, is that it should be more about keeping them out of direct sunlight, keeping clothes or shade over them, which is filtering UVA, UVB sunlight. And sunscreen is an additional sun protection measure. So you're using other methods, so keeping them out of the sun and also adequate clothing, and then topping it up with sunscreen. And if you follow all those things, no matter what the skin type, you're going to have a baby who's sun protected.
I know we're talking a lot about children and babies, but what about mums and dads? Do you wear sun cream every day?
I do, as a daily moisturiser, and I recommend it to all my patients. You wake up and you choose a sunscreen which you like the feel of, and it also has a great UVA and UVB protection, so it's kind of broad spectrum, and you use it as a moisturiser daily. And I was talking about leading by example for parents as well. So if they see you putting it on daily, which you do, Freddie, then they will put it on themselves because mommy does it and daddy does it.
So lead by example.
Absolutely.